Good evening, my man. Chase Green coming in here from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Trey Wynn coming on this Halloween night. Happy Halloween to everybody coming out, wherever you are across the state, across the Southeast, or anywhere else that you might be watching from. Chase, I was mentioning for those watching, we were talking prior to us going live about how this night was perfect weather. Like we went out and actually
Beautiful.
killed it. I almost went full pillowcase as far as like preparing my kids to really. I mean, we're going to go out there and venture and come back with a haul that should last us relatively about a year, right? Of candy. It
Yeah,
was like
we want diabetes at the end of this.
right, exactly. That's what we're going for. But all that to say, man, I have had a great night. I hope your night was well. Anything crazy down there in chat?
We took a little stroll around, me and Rocco, towards the end, and took a peek around Highland Park here, and it's bumping. Like
Yeah.
it's really bumping down here in the middle. Rocco didn't understand. Like, it's when it's nighttime around here, it's usually just us, maybe a couple other dog walkers. He did not understand why there are so many people in weird outfits. He loves kids, but he also just doesn't understand why they're scaring the shit out of him, basically. So he doesn't understand that part. So
Suspicious.
yeah,
Well, I mean, that sounds like it is a nice night for a stroll with a dog. I'm just walking around, but I mean, yeah, fantastic night. So everybody coming in here, I know, Monday Night Football is on as well. Not sure about what's going on there, but we're breaking everything down from this weekend from Tennessee sports with the Vols. Obviously, big win.
huge.
A lot to discuss there as far as what we were talking about last week, what we were anticipating as far as this game, and then what we saw. It's kind of the second time this season that we've seen it that way. And then obviously the Titans, just defense. And again, if you're watching with us, Trey Wynn, Chase Green here with me, or whichever way he's on my screen, but chat with us, share your thoughts. What a great weekend for the Titans, as far as even Malik Willis getting the go. Not the most beautiful thing, but I mean, first debut, and thank goodness you have Derrick Henry to rely on and just let him carry this team. But the defense, man. So a lot to talk about there. And then just NFL and college football in general. We could talk for a long time. So bring your thoughts. Do us a favor, share the show wherever you're watching. If you're watching from Chattanooga, if you're watching from Nashville, Knoxville, anywhere, tell us where you're watching from and give us your thoughts on the biggest thing that surprised you about the Vols win over Kentucky. Because Chase, like you mentioned, in case you're not following my boy over here, throwing out some great content as far as Will Levis getting just the first round grade, that conversation going for him, and then the Vols make him look like he just barely made a practice squad if he's lucky, kind of thing. So Chase, let's jump in. What was your biggest takeaway for the Vols against Kentucky this last weekend?
Absolute shock and awe. To be 100% honest, I just didn't think this defense had the capacity to do that. I thought we could get pressure on Levis. I actually thought that there was a chance. This front's pretty good, and their offensive line's meh at best. But I did not think this secondary could tighten up like that and lock them up. Levis is good. Levis is good as far as pro prospect. People love him. I have been more of a hater on Levis as far as like I don't think he is that dynamic big time quarterback. I just don't see it. I mean, I'm missing something because I'm not a NFL scout, but they like him.
Yeah.
He's got the big personality, leadership qualities, strong as hell, workout fanatic. He's got all that cool stuff. He's Instagrammable. And man, like he hasn't impressed me. That's all I'm going to say about that because I don't want to just shit on this guy. But we got trick or treaters here, so my dog's going crazy.
I'll take you.
Yeah, go ahead.
You figure it out. But yeah, my biggest thing I'm going to throw to Craig's story coming in here, secondary, making Will Levis look like an idiot for 60 minutes. I mean, I'm looking at the box score. It doesn't tell the entire story, but 16 for 27, total QBR 16.4, which reminds me of Tommy Boy, or was it Black Sheep, when he gets stopped by the police. He goes, "Sir, you have any idea how fast you were going back there?" He's like, "I don't know, what, 65, 70? 7. No, you were going 7 miles per hour." So, Will Levis
That is a wonderful comparison.
That's what it felt like, where it's like, oh, I'm doing pretty good out here. And even too, I forget who it was that shared it, whether it was Twitter, Instagram, what social media it was, but the pregame conversation of how Tennessee can make these big plays, and then even trying to liken yourself to that, like there's such a drop off between, I mean, we're talking about college football. I mean, greatness here with the Joe Burrow led LSU team that we're now eclipsing as far as points per game average, as far as what 49.4. It's just unreal. But yeah, to get humbled here, I do want to say hi to Steven, our boy from Houston, coming in here. Glad to see Henry. We'll talk some Titans in a little bit. But yeah, man, secondary conversation. I know we mentioned it prior to recording. But Slaughter, man, I mean, almost literally slaughtered a man and took him in half and caused one of the best hits we've seen this year. But other things offensively, what stuck out for you there, bro?
As I mentioned in the second part of the snippet today, and in the article that I have up front, on the website, chat10.com, the play calling continues to be just almost like you're on rookie mode. That's kind of how Alex Golesh feels right now. He creates all these smoke and mirrors. It's incredible to watch Jalin Hyatt get so wide open. And on that first touchdown, the way he designed this setup, there was a linebacker covering Jalin Hyatt.
Yeah.
The man that's leading most conferences in touchdowns by himself. It's so impressive. Yes, Steven, as I just mentioned, yeah, he actually has more touchdowns than the whole entire team of Iowa. So shout out to that. And probably pretty close to the entire state, because Iowa State's hot garbage as well. So it's impressive. But yeah, the smoke and mirrors that Golesh creates to get mismatches, it just doesn't even feel right. Like, how many times did you ask yourself, like, how are these guys so wide open?
Yeah, and I'm looking to just like kind of downloading as far as the running game under Tennessee. I mean, Chris Rodriguez is a freaking hoss as far as just his ability to go downhill. He doesn't stop. He had 64 yards, but Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, and Hendon Hooker kind of taking over, two guys with over 70 yards each, and then 3 touchdowns with Princeton Fant getting that kind of shuttle pass, which I love his, you know, I'm a, I don't know, tight end apologist. So
you are a tight end apologist. Definitely.
I am, man. Well, if you ask the guys I play fantasy football with, the vulture haters out there that are 14, 15 years into this lead that we've been going, I swear I will make a horrible first or second round selection if there's a good tight end there. No doubt. But I do want to talk about this because there could be a debate, there could be a controversy, if you will, of who truly is the best receiver on this team. Because Hyatt and obviously Tillman coming back. I put it on my tweeter today of Cedric Tillman taking the entire secondary across the field, and this is that I think the second touchdown that Hyatt had, where he was just right at that sideline and was perfectly placed. And yeah, I mean, the offense is clicking at a point that I just love watching. So yeah, let's say hey to some other folks here. Hello from Arizona, longtime listener for our Facebook user, first time commenter, love it. Craig coming back in, and honestly thought our offense had a so-so night. We had scored 44 points. It's unreal. It is so true, because even like I'm looking at Hendon Hooker's line, 89.9 QBR, which 3 years ago we would have been like, yes, great day for our quarterback. But Hendon's put that line and that standard up so high. So yeah, love what we have going on here. Gavin coming from a Georgia fan, there mismatches. Hyatt is a top 3 all-time receiver talent, but I've seen Georgia got some dogs. True.
They got some dogs. Don't get me wrong, but I'm very ready to see this matchup.
Yeah,
this is going to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. This is a Georgia team that's the most loaded we had, but when it came into it, Kentucky's team was supposed to slow Tennessee down. Like they've got they've got some guys on their back end too. It's just. It's not beating people one-on-one. That's the main thing. Like, people don't understand. If you're not really watching, it's not what Heupel and Golesh do to create like one-on-one matchups. It's putting your safety in a spot where he has to pick and choose. Like, okay, well, you've got a deep post or a deep skinny post with Hyatt, or you got to choose between a high cross with Tillman. And that's the spot your safety's in. It's like, good luck.
Yeah.
And it's just got to be pretty accurate. So it's really not about like the one-on-one mismatches. Sometimes he can, like that's what he did with the linebacker on the first touchdown. That's why it was so wide open. You're like, oh, really? You're going to do this? Like, so it's the scheming part of it. But this team does things to just put these back end safeties in just terrible spot. terrible spots. Yeah. Do you know what the spread is? I've still got my apps deleted because I'm a bad boy and I'm in timeout.
For Georgia right now, Tennessee,
Yeah.
Georgia, I think today it was, I want to say between 7.5 and 10 or something, but I'm going to pull it up here as far as
Yeah.
ESPN.
I was just wondering because I just saw our boy down here. Like I can't. Why do these people like put us in our comments that are just Facebook users? I don't understand that. But.
Yeah, Georgia is -8.5. Yeah,
Okay.
Facebook user. I'm not sure if you guys don't mind commenting your names. We can just, I don't know.
Yeah, do like a name and then like the colon. Yeah,
make a signature for it. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yes. XOXO.
Appreciate the commenting. We do appreciate that. And again, if you're watching with us, share your thoughts because -8.5 for Georgia right now, and there's a 74.9% chance as far as ESPN's matchup predictor right now. My immediate thought of it being in Athens, how well is Tennessee going to travel this weekend?
I'm wondering the same thing. I know Georgia's going to try to do a good job of keeping it in house because I was listening to our boys over at the former Takeover, and they were on SEC, and they was listening to Knowshon Moreno today talk about like this is going to be one of the biggest games ever down there in Sanford Stadium. It's huge. Like they're just, and it's weird because like I was kind of picking up from them. I'm going to be honest. I'm not just up. I couldn't remember like all the matchups in my head and thinking about it. I'm just like off the top of my head and kind of listening to them. They alluded to the fact like it always seemed like we had they had some big matchups down there. Don't get me wrong. Like there's huge teams like Arkansas last year at noon, all that fun stuff. But timing just seemed a little off. Like, Tennessee's not been good. They've not had Bama there. They've not had XYZ at the right time. So it hasn't been as big. This right here is magic. Magic is going to be displayed down there in Athens, Georgia. And I think it's going to be a fantastic game because I actually do. I think Georgia can score with Tennessee in some capacity because I think that they're going to get some stops on Tennessee. They're going to get a few, but I still think this is a high 30s game, or maybe low 40s. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be relatively high scoring for non-Tennessee people that are used to 50 or 49 or whatever.
Yeah. One thing that really kind of for a bit there in that Kentucky game, and I didn't watch the entirety of the second half because we had to go back and get my kids down and things like that. But the tackling for Tennessee was just, at some points was just awful. Guys not wrapping up at all. 2 or 3 guys going for a ball, and the guy just gets 3 or 4 more yards. And Bowers coming in this weekend, this monster tight end, and obviously was it Washington, the other guy that can basically manhandle anybody. It's like the talent they bring in offensively. I totally agree with what you're saying as far as them being able to go with and score and kind of hang there. I just hope that we see some type of defensive adjustment where it's not that classic like Texas Tech, Big Ten. I think we mentioned that last week where the ability just to go and score, but you couldn't stop a nosebleed, and that's where I want to see Tennessee get better. Hopefully they can recruit there and not just be the big sexy offense, which again, it sells, it makes everything look and feel wonderful. But having sound defense is a part of the SEC, and I feel like it's a requirement. And yes, the league's changing and the game's changing as it is, but these teams that are at the top are defensively sound and consistently playing at a high level between Saban, between Kirby now. It's a standard. And, when you see good defense, I do believe that defense wins championships for sure. So I think Tennessee, if we don't do it this year, go deeper into the playoff or let's, to talk natty and championship level conversation, it's like we have to get better at tackling, in my opinion.
Yeah. Big on Saturday that kind of stepped up. After there was a good little run there for, like you're saying, I thought Kentucky started swinging it outside more, and you're starting to like, oh my gosh, man, we're going to miss tackles, one-on-one stuff. You can't allow Tennessee to go out there on the sides, and they just, they were whiffing on stuff. There was a few moments there. You're like, oh, this is how Kentucky gets back into it. This is how they're going to do it. But I think this is going to be a game where Georgia's going to want to run the football, and they've got 3 good backs. But if you're talking about a strong suit for Tennessee, the Tennessee run defense, and that front's been fantastic.
Yeah.
It's just what I worry about just talking about is if they start to get creative and start throwing it out wide to these guys and getting them out in space, that's where you get scared. It's like our corners having to make one-on-one tackles. I thought the coverage was fantastic from Slaughter and the rest of the company out there this week, but it was the one-on-one tackling from those little 5-yard swing outs or anything behind the line. That's where you start to get worrisome. That's where Georgia's going to get creative. You just got to start making Stetson Bennett be more of a hero ball kind of guy. I didn't think he looked fantastic on Saturday. I know they picked it up, but I mean, you're talking about the throw the big long touchdown to Bowers should have just been knocked down. It was a terrible throw, to be honest. Or it could have been picked off. That wasn't a good throw.
Yeah.
And it just wound up being a cool play. And, it's Brock Bowers being Brock Bowers. And they have a 3-headed monster in tight ends that, they talk about 2, but they really have 3 that are maybe the best tight end room ever.
Yeah.
So it's going to be pretty impressive to see how Tennessee matches up after a monster defensive week. So hopefully, if you want to be top dog, man, you're going to have to carry that defense over and take it down to Athens.
Yeah, and the thing that we talked about with Alabama, because obviously I feel like those teams are, we could debate the top 4 or 5 right now and, have it cut 10 different ways. And yeah, the margins are so thin at that level, but I feel that's when it comes down to the fundamentals of the game. Chase, are you hearing me okay?
Yeah. Can you
okay?
A little wonky?
I just making sure. I just kind of got there for a second, but I just find that with Tennessee, like I think the momentum, this out of the dark kind of season that they're having, like they were expecting what we were saying maybe 8 or 9 wins this year.
Yeah, that was the call. So you're really? Like, yeah, they're going to lose to Georgia, Alabama, and probably Florida.
Yeah, and shout out to Blake Shoemaker for continuing to remind me that I'm going to be getting a tattoo on my arm.
Oh, yes, you are, my friend.
Because it's. I mean, I know it's going to happen. I was actually laughing with my uncle about it, but if you haven't seen that, check out my Twitter. We can get you caught up there for anyone watching or listening. But I'm all for it, man. This team. It seems they have an energy and a belief, and I don't understand the story of Hendon Hooker, and obviously Joe Burrow too, going to OSU before he went to LSU. How Hendon Hooker got here. It's been a fantastic story, but now we're really looking at it and saying we're talking about potentially beating Alabama and Georgia amongst the other 5 ranked teams that they've had. We could be looking at 6 here and just continuing to stack up these stats of like, okay, wow, damn, like this team is really freaking good. Like we're talking about this Joe Burrow offense. We're being compared to that. The Vols are being compared to that offensively. Blows my mind. So not to go long-winded there, but yeah, I don't know. We talked about LSU the same way. Of like, let's hope that we get a close win, play some sound football, and then just go out and blow them out. So I don't know. I'm kind of so shell-shocked, to be honest, like you were saying.
Yeah, there's still like that PTSD in there. Still, no matter what.
Even I feel like the second we all believe in, it's going to fall out.
Exactly. Because that's just what we're accustomed to.
Yeah.
It's, in all aspects, like even with the Titans, like I know we're fixed to get to them here in a little bit. I mean, it's just impressive to see, like, no matter what, you're still going to look at it as if you're ready to be hurt again. And that's how it's going to be when you go down to Athens this Saturday. I'm going to be in a beautiful black tux. At a fancy wedding at a place called the Dewberry. So way too classy. I'm way underclassed to go to this wedding, but here we are. So get another wedding, another humongous game where I've got to just watch on my phone.
I can play the iPad, and we'll let you watch on the iPad. And you can.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. Yeah. So, but anyways, like it's going to be impressive to see how Tennessee matches up because McIntosh, Robinson, all those guys are really good. They're really good. And you don't have Alabama at home, which we talked about last week, was how much of a factor Neyland played in that game. Even if it was just like death by 1,000 paper cuts type of game for Bryce, like he got so frustrated. He was like doing the heavy clap, that just gets on your nerves after a while. So you're going to get a little frustrated. You're going to overthrow one, or you're going to do a little hustle up. You're going to get mad at your guy. And then he's in his own head and he snaps, gets a penalty. It's all these little things. You won't have that. in Athens. It's gonna be loud. It's going to be a bunch of weird adults that are barking like dogs, things like that.
I will say, I mean, I Florida putting 20 points up on them this weekend. Obviously, we can talk about the largest cocktail party and how that went down.
Yeah, because I want to ask you, like, what are your thoughts like on them playing in Jacksonville? Because I know Craig mentioned this earlier. He absolutely hates this because they play the non-home and home.
Well, I mean, Georgia, I feel like travels in a way that, I mean, for some of those games, whether they're road or home, they are the home team. Just because I feel their fans are like you said, those weird people who keep barking and stuff. But I mean, I don't know, man. I think Jacksonville's a dumpster, but that's beside the point. And it's one of those things. I mean, give it because think about that game at the Swamp too. I mean, that's one of the loudest stadiums, largest stadiums in the country. And I don't know, man. I get people travel, but I mean, why? Well, I don't know the story there. I don't know the what and the reasoning, but yeah, I'm kind of with Craig there as far as the unnecessary, part of that. But I do think Tennessee's going to travel well this weekend for sure. But yeah, I do want to talk kind of just coming out of what Georgia's put on paper and what they've shown themselves to be consistently with Missouri, Kent State putting up 22 points, and now Florida doing the same. I think Tennessee has an easier route, in trying to put my bias aside of just saying I think Tennessee has an easier route to get over Georgia and get on top of them and stay there. But even too, it makes me think about that Alabama game. Bryce was on fire. Bryce Young turned the ball over, and we still overcame it. They missed a kick because this game could have been completely different as far as outcome if they made that kick, obviously. But it happened, and I'm genuinely just like pushing my chips in on Tennessee week to week.
Yeah, and I hope you're winning all kinds of shekels for it, because the Tennessee first quarter over. You got to be smart about it. You can't just take Tennessee. I mean, a lot of times you can take Tennessee money line, but also you got to be smart about your overs, because we were all sitting there watching the game with some friends and family, and just kind of laughing at the fact that Tennessee goes in. I think the over was like 16.5. Tennessee's driving. They're down to like the 4-yard line. They get one little quarter swing pass, and it's 7-6. And the guy almost scores. And they score literally the first play in the second quarter. And there are people losing it that took the over on the first quarter. They're like, son of a bitch, They probably doubled up like Tennessee. I think it was like Tennessee minus 3.5 or minus 2.5. Then you got freaking Tennessee, Kentucky over combined 16.5. You're just so pissed. I was like, there's somebody that chucked a controller right there. Those are those fun moments, like in your head as a bettor, you're like, this guy, somebody lost it on that one.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's one of those deals too. Like Craig makes a good point. Tennessee and Georgia have two of the most passionate and almost like redneck dumb fan bases that can get on your nerves, but you absolutely love the passion. You love it.
And just so everybody knows, I'm texting Blake here. Blake Shoemaker's trying to comment through our Twitter. If you're watching on Twitter, feel free to jump over to YouTube, Facebook. We got lines there available. Streaming lines there available. As far
you can
as
give us a call over here to
423
Chat 10 Sport.
Yeah, but just in case anyone's having an issue there or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty confident this week as far as averages. Total yards per game, it's pretty tight. Yards allowed, though, I mean, Georgia's not giving up over 265 yards a game, and that's where the big difference for Tennessee is. I just continue to think I err on the side of caution several times this year. And what does it say about this team? I mean, they're stacking up 5 ranked wins in a season. Because the Pitt game now, what does that tell you about the Pitt game that first week? Like, Tennessee was obviously not clicking like they are right now, but coming out of the gate, they got their feet wet and got tested pretty early, which probably was pretty good,
Yeah, you kind of need you feel like you need those games. Like, they didn't score in the second half. Like, it kind of feels like one of those deals that you're like, man, we Tennessee might have needed that to get that that shitty game out of the way, to be honest. Like, I think you always have to have that game.
Yeah.
Maybe that was it. And that's kind of why it feels weird for Tennessee fans is it's going to come. Well, maybe it already happened. Maybe
Right.
that already happened. And something that you're just not used to is the fact that you overcame adversity for the first time in a long time.
I think too, legitimately, I think Heupel is that guy of like, I remember him telling, I forget which game it was, of don't look up at the scoreboard and just keep your foot down and let's just continue to pour it on. I think he just keeps the guys hungry, but that's just there's Blake Shoemaker coming through on YouTube. Nobody plays defense out here. I just scored in Arizona State completely by accident.
Blake Shoemaker much quicker than you anticipate. Don't let him lie to you. Shift into the backfield.
I know we're going to shift to some Tennessee Titans here, but Chase, you got any other thoughts as far as college football balls? I know you're not going to be here Thursday. Do you want to talk Georgia? I mean, do you want to throw your thoughts out in an article on Thursday, or you want? How do you want?
Yeah. I'll pump something out too. I'll have some more coming. Finished up the Kentucky wrap up today, so just go look at that little article I got posted up. Give them a big orange stamps of approval.
Yeah,
it was a bigger win than people give it credit for. I know they beat the holy hell out of them, but that was nice to see. Slaughter monster game.
Yeah,
forced one pick with the Juwan Mitchell. Shout out to that guy. Finally get his chance to have a big time impact play. To be honest, to me, like that was an awesome moment for both those guys. Then Slaughter goes and gets one kind of to seal the deal, or whatever you want to call it, in the fourth quarter. But it was a beautiful night for that secondary, and they really needed that. And gives you a lot of confidence as a fan going into Saturday. But I'll bring out some more on Georgia. Another monster game. I kind of wished I wanted LSU and Bama to get 3:30 game. Not a huge fan of the CBS game, but you understand what it means. And plus it would work out better timing for me personally. Just to be selfish here, let's be honest, we all
change it up, boys. Let's go.
So I really wanted that night game. Thought that night game in Athens would be sick. Plus you don't want to listen to Gary for 3.5 hours for whatever it is. But LSU Alabama is another big one because there's a weird chance that could be for the West. And that's kind of surprising because Alabama's got to win out. They've got to win out to make the playoffs. And that feels weird because it could essentially be Tennessee putting them out twice. And I made this comparison. This will be all I have on this. But if in the same 365-day period, North Carolina beats Duke twice to put them out forever, and then Tennessee beats Alabama twice to put them out for this year, I don't know if I'll be able to contain my excitement.
No doubt, dude.
If I can say in the last 365 days, my teams beat Coach K twice in his last home game and his last tournament game, and then turn around and Tennessee Vols beat Saban twice in 1 year.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can be any happier. And you know what? I can be. Happy 1 year anniversary, Hannah Edmonds. Bingo.
Look at him throwing it out there like
bingo.
Ave over here. Jeez.
I'm gonna cut that. I'm gonna cut that whole thing. That's gonna be my post tomorrow.
Get it, son. He's a genius. Just I want to throw out Facebook user again. Sorry, we don't see your name on our side, but if the Vols lose by 3 and if Bama beats the Dogs in the SEC championships by 10, I want to throw out this hypothetical, not exactly this one here, but just if the Vols lose this weekend, does it benefit them more to potentially have the one loss? Both Alabama or whomever from the West comes, Georgia, goes to the SEC championship, and say Georgia loses, hypothetically speaking, there. Does it put Tennessee right back in the playoff? Or I mean, if it's Tennessee or Georgia, whomever loses this game this weekend, does it put them in a spot to bypass a lot of the crap that you have to go through? Because that SEC championship, that's going to be as physical a game as ever. Beating the absolute hell out of each other. It's going to be probably in the trenches of these massive men. Speaking of, who's our big defensive tackle, 21?
Our big defensive tackle, 21?
Yeah, Tennessee's number. I can't think of it, but why is Will Levis? Remember, he ran directly at him. That's when he like, kind of pinged his shoulder. This dude just
yeah.
absolutely crushed the guy. But
yeah, he had, and that he's been beat up as is, and that was just not the smartest play.
not at all. But not the bunny tornado there. But I'm just saying that the SEC championship can be more of a physically tolling game on this Tennessee team. That it would be weird to work it out. I would love to see Georgia lose. I would love to see the Tennessee have a 6th ranked opponent that they would be beating. But yeah, complete hypothetical there. But do you think there's any validity that it would benefit the team that would lose this in a playoff implication conversation?
Maybe. So many things would have to work out.
Craig's got a great comment.
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead with Craig's, because that's how it has to. Yeah, with TCU, Clemson, you're having to like rely on. I'm trying to think.
They're variables.
Yeah. At this point, if you're Clemson, you're relying on. If you're hoping Clemson loses, you have to rely on Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Which please don't give me a hope. Don't give me the spiel like, well, it's tough. They'll wear the green jerseys. Just nobody cares. They're not good. They're not good. They're not being Clemson. I know Clemson's not wonderful. They're not world beaters. They'll win 27-21 again.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, dadgummit. But and then I can't remember who TCU has left, but I'll be honest, if you go out there and you get Oklahoma State, and then you get Kansas State like they did, man, I just don't see them losing. Yeah. We were talking about it the other day on the group text too. I wonder what do you think? Do you think they'd put one loss Michigan in if their only loss to Ohio State? Let's say Tennessee loses this weekend.
Yeah. Steven Center said Texas, I believe, is the last remaining for TCU.
Okay, that's what I thought. Let's see. So if Tennessee, if Michigan's only lost to Ohio State, and say it's close, let's say it's 7.3-point loss.
Yeah.
Let's say Tennessee loses to Georgia by 10 plus. And that's it. That's their only loss. And Georgia goes on to win. Do you think they would put a one-loss Michigan team or a one-loss Tennessee team in?
Tennessee. I mean, just for the sake of ranked, I don't know who all Michigan's beaten as far as ranked opponents comparatively. I mean,
yeah, it'd be Penn State, and that's it. Right?
I just think as far as this, the points per games, I mean, what the team is doing right now. Hendon Hooker's thrown 1 interception. He is the favorite. He is the literal favorite right now for the Heisman Trophy, which is insane. But not to throw any shade at Michigan, because I feel, I didn't watch I saw the only highlight I saw the Michigan State game was this assault that happened in the back tunnel, which is insane. Not to bring that, not to go on that, but I would have to say Tennessee over a one-loss Tennessee versus a one-loss Michigan. Because do you think otherwise? Do you think Michigan?
No. I was just wondering, because that's the one that I've kind of like been thinking about, because I think Tennessee, Michigan, because of the losses. Sorry, reading Craig's comment here. I think that Tennessee will probably sneak in, because it'll be one of those deals that you're going to get the fan base.
Yeah.
You're going to get the money from it. And if you tell me that's not a factor, then kick rocks. I just think that, and also you're going to get a strength schedule. All that kind of comes into play. I will say, I think Tennessee has to keep it close. Like, this can't look like Georgia, Florida this weekend.
Yeah. I'm just thinking too. I mean, we talked about last week as far as the committee or whatnot, kind of leaning towards Bama and OSU. I mean, who knows? Because the mix-ups there, I don't know. I haven't watched a ton of Ohio State either, but yeah, man, I feel like this is one of the best. But one of the best college football seasons I've seen in a long time. And maybe it's just the homer in me of saying it's good to have the balls back, but I feel like there's just some really, really freaking good college football being played across the country. But let's move it here to some NFL and some Tennessee Titans conversation. Great comments. Appreciate the interaction. Keep it coming, because the Titans this weekend, obviously over in Houston, just dismantling what looked to be like an FBS team that suited up for the Houston Texans, where, I mean, Derrick Henry literally had his way. The offensive line that we know is struggling. Pass protection is what it is. Tannehill could probably, have 2 seconds to get the ball out, and then all of a sudden Henry can come out here and throw up 220 yards in a game and carry you. The one thing I was screaming at, Chase, you were talking about some bet that you cussing and throwing a controller at. I took Henry at 3 touchdowns yesterday.
Oh,
I think I threw. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. I was having to take a second beat. Like, they're not doing this at me. It's just they want to give Hilliard a chance or whatever, and milk the clock. But anyways, I was kind of surprised in the sense of how sound the defense. Obviously, Christian Fulton. I think I saw a stat today. I'm gonna pull my Twitter bookmark up. Targeted 17 times. I think he had 6 catches allowed. Like, just an incredible day for Christian Fulton. The defense in general. I know we can also talk about trade and stuff as well, because that conversation continues to roll. But I mean, interceptions. Kevin Byard almost had one. I thought Stonehouse continues to boom the ball. But overall, I mean, what do you think the Titans are coming out of this weekend? Because I feel like we still we know where we are bad, but we still aren't 100% sure with where we're good. Jeff Simmons is really good.
Jeff Simmons is good. And those guys are so good, they dominate even despite every defense and every offense going straight at them or zoning in heavy target movie moment, like zoomed in profile on that guy. That's all it is. But I really thought the Titans got creative. Couple little sticks in the ground, couple counters, couple little things that just timing stuff with Henry. I thought, Malik did not look great. He did not look great, but I thought they did a good job. That offensive line, man, that's the most push I've seen in a long time. Granted, it's the Houston Texans, but the Houston Texans are loading boxes and getting ready to come after you because they know Malik can't throw.
Yeah.
But, dude, that was the best push I've seen from this offensive line in a long time.
No doubt. I do want to throw this out because Gavin's speaking facts out here, because the Jaguars, man, which – what was it, week 2 or 3, I was saying, hey, this team has me concerned. Yeah. I do think there's still a team that could surprise some people, because I don't know. I couldn't tell you how many games they've lost by 7 or fewer points, but I feel like there are several games that they've been competitive, and maybe it falls out in the last 8 minutes of the game and they just can't control the nosebleed. But I'm absolutely wrong about the Jaguars. But dude, Gavin, I'm trying to think of the laundry list of names that we could probably pull up to say that people were wrong about Malik Willis, because I am still baffled by the fact that Tennessee Titans fans, and I'm not trying to do this right now. I'm not trying to bring up the people who hate Tannehill because of Marcus Mariota or whatever happened there, who are almost rooting for this guy to fail. And the fact is, like, this showing is the exact same thing that we saw from Malik in the preseason game. Receivers wide open, having space, multiple receivers wide open on single plays, and no throw is even made, and he tries to pull it down and run. Yeah. This is exactly why he fell from a first-round projected, maybe just the same as Will Levis will be. He is going to fall. And Malik Willis fell for a reason, and I think it was on full display. It's not to say that the project's over. He's a bust. And if anybody's there, you might need to slow down a little bit. But what was your takeaway from Malik Willis is showing? Because when the Titans are having that success of saying, we are going to square up and come directly at you, and you can't do anything to stop it. And but Malik Willis obviously looked very bad. Very bad.
Yeah, very bad. They didn't throw the ball the entire third quarter. I don't remember. I don't think did they throw it in the fourth?
I don't know.
I couldn't remember. I know you had to get back and do dad duty. Yeah, but I couldn't remember if they threw it or not. But I knew they didn't in the third.
I did watch late, but that's where I was just praying for my third touchdown to come through. Just don't ever give it to Malik. But Dontrell, Hilliard came through as well.
It's very, very good point. I was fixing to bring him up. Yeah.
Yeah, but I thought it was a convenient day for Tannehill to have his issues, give him a rest day. I love the fact that we did all that. I really do. but it's also, I was realistically thinking I would be shocked if he goes out there and has this day where he's turning heads and the controversy begins. I would love it as a dramatic, like NFL loving fan.
Yep.
But there ain't much there. But anyways, like I know outside of Derrick Henry, this offense, I mean, sometimes I feel like it just hangs on by a thread, but here we are at 5-2 in a dumpster fire division. But yeah, I mean, my thought is the Chiefs coming up now, the real test comes, right? I mean, this is
the real test.
It's do or die. And in the sense of to see where you are in the AFC playoffs, landscape.
Yeah, especially with your last primetime game, you get smoked against probably the best team in the NFL, and this might be the second or third best team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
And it worries you because if Tanny's not healthy, you really don't have a chance of moving the ball down the field.
Barring some trade deadline for
they did now. Who did they get today? They got who did they get? The Titans got somebody today.
They cut and made a spot on the roster, but I'm not sure.
Let me see. There was a wide receiver. Who was I thinking of? Gosh. 1 second.
If Hendon
this is great. This is great stuff.
I'll throw some comments up here. Go and find your stuff there. I'm loving what Craig's saying here. Sorry, got the wrong one there. I'm not giving up on Willis, but I would keep an eye on quarterbacks in this draft. That's a whole conversation that you could put up when the time comes. But they did Willis about when he threw it. Gotcha.
And let me ask you this too: like, whenever you watch Malik too, he still has the mentality that he's like the most athletic guy on the field too. Because when he took off running on that left side scramble, he thought he could run sideways and then cut it out like he was in college. I'm like, you got to realize, buddy, those linebackers are just as fast as you are.
Yeah.
And I still think that's another product of him where he's going to have to learn to actually be a better runner again. I mean, I think he has the athleticism, and clearly you saw that in the preseason. And he does things, and when he moves in the right ways and understands lanes, he'll be a really, really good runner. And there's also like throws that he does make. You're like, maybe he's got some zip on it. Like there's things about him. Like you can be, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I'm like Craig. I think that you can't give up on somebody this early. You really can't. You knew he was a project coming in. Gavin, I'm going to trade the Duvall shirt. Probably I'm going to make him wear it throughout the entirety of the playoffs.
God.
Each week you're going to have to wear it, and you're not going to be allowed to wash it.
I will not be working out in this shirt. Thank God.
Yes. No. I had a former boss that played pickup basketball with us that we only played once a week, and he would leave his shirt in the car. This was the middle of summer. And he would leave his shirt in his car after we played and never washed it. Let's just say he wasn't with the company very long after that. But yeah. tough grow shirt. Anyways, yeah. So Malik just has a little ways to go to even give us some sort of hope. I think. I don't know about you, if you saw anything, or if you're just on the let's start peeking around at the old draft, because I wish that we could pick out running backs or quarterbacks like they do running backs, because my God, Foreman, Hilliard, and Henry, the three running backs we had in the system last year, are fantastic right now.
Yeah. And that's a whole nother conversation as far as like the quarterback. But the thing is, like, this team, I feel, could have a fallout from, I know we previously, as well as a lot of folks in this community, were talking about the fact that the Titans can be looking for a quarterback, for a left tackle, and there's still other like pre-existing holes on this team. Inside linebacker, watching Roquan Smith today go to the Ravens.
Good for him.
Oh, good for him to get out of Chicago. Sorry if I'm banging my microphone here. Good for him to get out of Chicago, but the thing is, like, I don't have any expectations. And just to transition into our conversation for trade deadline stuff, like, I have absolutely no expectations for anything to happen for the Titans.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I'm not trying to bring this up and rehash this. Maybe we have a conversation here and we move on about it and it's done. But the Titans missing AJ Brown, and maybe it's the day of him, throwing up 3 touchdowns and pointing out the 2 receivers that were trying to cover him as he just easily, like effortlessly caught this ball. But if it's Treylon Burks, injuries, obviously I saw Tajay Sharp, Adam Humphries, Mohamed Sanu getting worked out by who was it, the 49ers or somebody today.
Yeah.
It's like the talent at receiver that's available right now is so scarce that we just literally, I'm not going to say gave away, and it got weird of who ghosted who and who said 25 million. And obviously the Titans standing with the cap and all that stuff. It's a complicated situation.
Yeah.
But AJ Brown, I don't know, man. Top 3, top 5. It does hurt. It hurts, but it's like top 3, top 5 receiver in this game right now. That's where I'm just trying to be level-headed and saying either we lean into the rebuild after this season, but the threads are gonna hold on for this playoff push this season. But I swear, day 1 of the postseason, I feel it's gonna fall out, and people are getting shipped and cut and things like that.
And Craig's right. It is a lose-lose situation because you pay AJ, you got to pay Simmons, and Simmons is probably worth it in the long run. But damn, dog, that's one of those. And we all play fantasy, we all gamble, we all watch Red Zone, and so you get a bird's eye view of all the NFL now in such a easy access. You get to see the talent of each wide receiver. You get to see the top end talent a lot. And the top end wide receivers are so unbelievable. But when you start to make the next step down, it gets rough.
Yeah.
And you know what? The Titans are in that. I mean, Robert Woods was really good when he was the second and third guy. He ain't number 1.
Yeah.
We don't have anybody close.
But my thing, like the conversations as far as like available receivers, right? Like I know Elijah Wood, Jerry Jeudy's coming up. Elijah Moore, excuse me. Brandon Cooks, which the Texans are apparently they want a 2nd-round pick for him, which I think is laughable. Chase Claypool, like the receivers, if they could get anybody on that list right now, which according to Corey Curtis put up bookie.com Titans trade deadline odds. Right now, the Titans rank 4th on our list to have Jerry Jeudy on their roster after the deadline with a 16.7% chance of landing him. That would be wonderful. However, if I'm trying to be realistic, it's the same thing with Elijah Moore, basically a 16.7% chance. Not a ton of opportunity there. For some reason, Kareem Hunt is coming up as far as someone they're targeting. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. But
I mean, we have a very, very cheap version of that in
Hilliard.
Yeah. So, and probably, honestly, maybe not quite the talent, but as productive in this offense, Jeudy is a guy. So when you're watching the game yesterday in the morning and being a psycho that logs into ESPN Plus to watch a London game with 2 boring teams, it's who we are these days. Getting ready for a little family breakfast coming over. I'm just waiting. My hungover cousins, they taking forever. So I tuned in and watched this game. And you do watch Jeudy get a touchdown because he's got the speed, this overall athleticism. You're like, oh man, you could use him in so many ways. But his route tree is very thin, my friend.
Yeah.
From what I've heard from people talk about him, it is a tough go around when it comes to actual wide receiver skill set or advanced skill set. We'll say that because I'm sure the guy can run routes and do all sorts of cool stuff that we can't do. But guess what? We don't get paid to do it. So with Jeudy, he does have all those little natural born athleticism tendencies. And you're like, man, that's going to be awesome. And maybe the Titans could be a right team to use somebody like that and get creative and just learn how to pitch the ball to some in a different way and run drags and do little things. And that might work out for somebody like Jeudy. But as you mentioned, buddy, this is not a great lineup of free agents, or not free agents, but people on the block.
Yeah, and another conversation too for Andre Dillard, Dillard's. I almost want to say like the old JC Penney shopping store, or whatever it was
Yes.
way back when. He's obviously a big conversation piece because Jordan Mailata just continues to freaking look incredible. But all that to say, I would be. I don't know how I'd feel if they walked away with nothing, just because I think if you're going to make it happen this year, the number one thing that you at least have to make a drop in the bucket for is offensive line, just because Henry has the ability to take over these games against mediocre teams. And if a good team like the Chiefs can't stop him, and we'll see what happens on Sunday there. But if you can bolster the offensive line to help yourself in any way possible, I think that's the first move you have to make. Let's see here. Conversation as far as quarterbacks go. I mean, that seems. I want just to acknowledge Craig's comment here as far as that. I'm glad they were able to grab Malik since he fell and he has the potential, but I won't be shocked there either. Gavin Jones, I would love to see the Titans go after Adam Thielen, Mac Hollins, Isaiah McKenzie. If the guys that we just mentioned are not getting high chances, I don't know. Maybe high chances of landing with the Titans. I just don't know if there's the interest for those guys because I don't see the Vikings parting with Adam Thielen. That's. I mean, I
think he got hurt yesterday too.
Did he?
Yeah. So.
I mean, all that to say, I don't expect much, but I would really love to see them land an offensive lineman, interior, left tackle, right tackle, whatever it would be, just to help Henry to make these last seasons with Henry count.
Yeah, because you got to keep him. Like you've designed everything around him. Yeah, I don't know what all's out there. The thing about it is I don't feel like the Titans have like these crazy assets, to like move and swap. This is not, it's not the NBA and it's not fantasy draft. It's just different because a lot of picks that this team needs to keep. And don't you feel like they're in such a weird spot where with Henry, with Simmons and this defense and winning in this division, you feel like you're in this like weird spot where you kind of try to still have to be good, but you don't want to give up your draft capital.
Yeah, they're in a very complicated spot of what's the move right now, because if you make one wrong move, not that anyone's losing their job, but like you just kind of have to. One wrong move can bury you right now in a lot of ways, in my opinion.
And it's like the worst part, like the worst place to be in the NFL is mediocre. And no offense, but this is kind of where they are. Like they're not going to win multiple games in the playoffs. They'll make the playoffs because the division blows, but and the Titans can win. The Titans just figure out ways to win. It's disastrously ugly sometimes, but long ways away from the Vols as far as scoring wise. But they win, and so they can win in that division and keep on rolling.
Yeah, and I don't know. I wouldn't shuffle the deck too much, but if I'm curious to see. I doubt they would make a move as far as being sellers, but if anybody, I'd love to see Austin Hooper just because of the contract. It doesn't make sense for anyone to take it on, but trying to think of anybody else that would have any value for the Titans to lose. But I think everywhere right now they have a talent, they need to keep it and conserve it. But I know we're getting close on our hour here, brother. I wanted to throw out a little friend or foe, or what do we say, fan or fraud?
Fan or fraud, baby.
So we're into some fan or fraud, but I want to do it with some Halloween candy.
Yes.
So I want you to give me some of your tops, and I want to give you some of my tops, and then some of your least favorites and my least favorites, and we'll just go back and forth. All right.
Okay, fire away.
So I think this candy is absolutely perfect, and it gets a lot of. I think it does get shade. I think it gets shade because there's a variety of ways that you can purchase this candy. You got M&M style, you have cup style, you have literally crunch style, but Reese's peanut butter cups, Chase. It doesn't get much better, and especially if you put them in the freezer, they get a little bit, kind of a little firm. Put them in a Sonic Blast, put them in a McFreeze. Are you a friend, or are they fan or fraud of these Reese's peanut butter cups?
I am admin of the fan club.
He's been doing it for a while.
I've been Reese cupping it for a while. There's a reason that I was like 200 pounds at like 11 years old, and Reese cups had a lot to do with that. I'll say that. I absolutely love them. So yes, big, huge fan. Reese cups for life. Number one Halloween food, no doubt.
Halloween food, love it. What's give me your one. Give me your one.
Okay. I'm trying to let me stir up some controversy here if I can.
Fan after 15 minutes in the freezer, says Gavin. Don't even say candy corn, he says.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
We're not psychos.
Steven Snyder's also a fan of the Reese's. I believe we were saying Reese's Cups, weren't we?
Now, in the circumstance of Halloween, because you get a wide variety.
Mm-hmm.
Crunch bars.
Mm-hmm.
Fan or fraud?
I wouldn't say fraud. I wouldn't say fan, which maybe that's the worst way to be, right? You're lukewarm, you're indifferent, you're just like, eh. But if I'm in a certain mood, it's just not my favorite.
Yeah. I'm gonna go slight fraud because of the circumstance. Like if I'm reaching the bowl of a variety pack and I get crunch, I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
I
get it. No, I'm trying to think of. I'm actually looking up some bests and some worsts here, but I want to try and catch some people if we can. Maybe you, Chase, but I think Smarties are one of the worst things on the planet. Just because here's the reason. I have 3 kids, and if you ever give a child a wrapper of Smarties, here's what happens. Several things could happen, but here's one of the things that can happen. They can't get that damn thing open. They're crunching that thing, and it sounds like you're listening to static over a phone and all that kind of stuff. Or they yank it, and it just explodes, and candies go everywhere. And then on top of that, it's the type of candy. What is it? Is it sugar chalk? Like, what are we talking about here? I feel like you could take that stuff and draw on a sidewalk and make a nice edge if you really want to, etch a sketch. But fan or fraud? Where are you at with Smarties? And tell us, Gavin, everyone else, Craig and Steven, y'all are still hanging with us. Smarties are garbage.
Your feeling may have changed my mind because I'm actually a fan. But now, like thinking in context of like not just the flavor, like if you take away just the candy taste itself, man, they kind of suck. But I'm gonna be a fan because I do like the taste of them. I've got some weird. I used to have some weird. I've not had Smarties though in a long time, but I don't know. Are they just sugar chalk? Is that all it really is, right?
That's what I think. I'm actually getting some threads here in the comments, but Craig's story. Just to warn you, Trent, my fiance is on her way to come kick your ass. Smarties hate. The large ones are really good. Craig also threw out the Reese's Cup fan. Peanut butter shaped ones are better. Crunch bars are okay. I agree. Crunch bars are like Sprite trash if you drink them all the time, but every now and again it's liquid gold.
Okay.
That's a very fair.
That is a really good way to look at that, Gav.
Very good comparison. I do want to throw out here, and by the way, I apologize to Craig's fiance, but
don't apologize to her.
I will stand my ground. No, the Smarties I think are just sugar chalk. What the heck is it? I'm gonna throw one out here. That's one of my favorites, right?
Okay.
And this whole genre of candy, I will say, this is not my choice for this conversation right here, but Sour Patch Kids are my favorite candy. So if anybody ever wants to just drop me a little happiness, give me a pack of some Sour Patch Kids. But hot tamales, Chase.
Ooh.
I like spicy. I like cinnamon, not spicy, but the cinnamon heat kind of feel, which we can talk warheads. Good Lord, Gavin. I could tell some stories about some warheads. But hot tamales, man. Have you ever tried, like, some people will put like M&Ms or chocolate in their popcorn. They'll mix it in, have a little sugar sweet or whatever, chocolate sweet. I did that once with hot tamales. It wasn't great, but hot tamales by themselves might be one of my favorite candies. Are you a fan or are they frauds?
Wow, Gavin's actually sitting there eating.
Gavin?
Hot tamales.
I feel like Chase is
Slight
back.
fan. I'm gonna go slight fan. It's something I don't have very often, but I will probably have a hot tamale within this. Usually, I have it within this Halloween range. You know,
Right.
I didn't have it the week before, but I'll probably have it the week after some point. Somebody will have one, and I'll be like, you know what, that wasn't bad. Warheads always made me feel like those rebellious kids. Like whenever you're in elementary school, they would eat like 4 warheads at one time. So I kind of associate warheads with like actual kind of crazy, but I love it. Like I wanted to be that kid because I was just too much of a pansy. Like I wasn't gonna put like 4 warheads in my mouth or whatever, but they would, and I was like, dude, look at those freaking rebels, dog.
They kids go hard when they're pounding warheads. Starburst sour gummies or Jolly Rancher sour gummies are the 93 gas. That's the high end stuff, I guess.
My little brother was that kid. Yeah, I'll give him that.
You got one to close us out?
Huh?
You got one to close us out?
I'm gonna give you something some people are not gonna like. I think Starburst are absolute hot trash.
All right, let's go ahead and wrap the show up, guys. Close this bitch down. But we'll do it live.
We'll do it live.
No, I think the red Starbursts are absolute as close to godliness as you can get whenever it comes to candy. Yeah, Gavin, it's not going well for Chase out here. Steven Snyder, I'm going to throw this. He's going to go to the moon pie instead of the candy aisle sometimes. Moon pies, dude.
Moon
How
pies.
you feel about moon pies?
I like moon pies. I'm going to put them in every single one of my gift baskets ever in life. If you ever come to Chattanooga, it's one of those things. It's just it's a staple. It's an absolute staple. Hey,
I hope you choke on coffee Saturday morning, Gavin says about Chase.
I will. While I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, I'm gonna be soaking up a victory on Saturday night.
Craig coming up the top rope. Craig saying, "I'm glad we became friends before you crapped on Starburst. I would kick your ass."
Craig, I've seen your flexibility. You can't even kick my ass. So
I got what I wanted. I exposed somebody, and they're going to be throwing tomatoes and lettuce at this guy for weeks, or for at least Halloween for days.
Yeah.
Well, anyways,
suck it in your Starburst.
Gavin's throwing some money line Chase.
I've got my Russell sweatshirt on. You can't mess with me. I got dad strength right now.
That's it, baby. Gotta love it. Man. I will say this. I know, Chase, you're out Thursday. We'll see what we can find. We might have to cook up an interesting guest, but come back with us on Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, if you're new to us, Chat 10 Sports, anywhere that you go, find those 3 letters after an @ and you can connect with us, follow us, subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the page, thumbs up, comment if you will, and anywhere else. We appreciate it. Share it. Invite your friends, man. This thing's fun. We're getting this kind of thing back up and going, and we're seeing the response and the listens and the views. So we appreciate you coming back with us. But yeah, a lot of great football in Tennessee, from Tennessee Vols, Titans. Not as equally as confident in the 2 teams, if I'm being straight up honest. But yeah, great show, Chase. Any last thoughts before we close it out?
No, 2 big college football games this weekend. I'll be looking forward to both of them. SEC is going to mean a lot come Saturday and Sunday morning now. So first college football playoff rankings come out tomorrow. I'll be very interested to see that. Gavin, I hope you have a terrible Saturday night, my friend, but I hope you have a great rest of the week. Craig, I hope everything's wonderful with you, besides your Starburst loving. On that note, Chad, just like and subscribe, Chat 10. Go read the article today. Kentucky Beer Barrel Beatdown. Tennessee put on there. I got a couple of stamps of approval. I went up for some of them, but yeah, just like us, subscribe to us, love us, share us, all the podcast things.
Yes, sir. All right, y'all take it easy. We'll see you back here Thursday. Tighten up and go Vols, baby.